Well, obviously it comes in fours. Look at this. That stinking potential Bigfoot Sasquatch came back again last night and knocked over another wood pile again. All these are perfectly perfect. And this one, kapooey. Daggone him, her, it, or they. Get my 6. Welcome. And it appears as if bad news comes in fours. That potential Bigfoot Sasquatch, it appears, may or may not be back, wanting to play games again, as we could tell by that knocked over pile of firewood that I recorded there on the way up. That hasn't happened in a long time. All right, so we got triple bad news, and I'm going to tell you about it. As you can see behind me here, the tent here at Camp Bigfoot Sasquatch is no longer here. There are no chairs surrounding the fire pit except for this one. One of the ones I have leaned up against the wood splitter over there that's under a tarp. It just seems so empty because we had packed everything up for a bigger and better purpose. We had this cross-country trip planned. We've been planning since April. And I'm going to tell you, just in the last couple of weeks have we even mentioned it here on the channel. We're kind of keeping it under wraps until it actually happened, just in case something came up and it didn't happen, like kind of what's going on, but I'm going to get to it. But you know what inspired this trip? Aside from the fact that America is like so beautiful, and I've crossed the country in a car, in a truck, a couple of different times, but it's been a long time since I have. And oh my gosh, I loved it. If you've never done it, you've got to do it. I don't care if it takes you a year to save up the gas money. Under the current situation, it might take you 5 years to save up the gas money, but it is absolutely worth doing. Drive, don't fly, don't skip it all from 36,000 feet. Drive so you can see it. And here's a rule. I've always had this rule. Anytime I've driven across the country, and I've always followed this rule, I refuse to drive at night because if it's dark, I can't see it. And so I limit myself to 6 hours worth of driving time a day. And whether I met that or not, if it's getting dark, I'll stop because I want to see this beautiful nation. So what inspired this trip? Well, what inspired this trip was back in April, my beautiful bride Dearly, aka Giggly Girl, and myself and our wonderful son went to a Bon Jovi concert down in Raleigh, North Carolina. It was in the arena where North Carolina State Wolfpack plays basketball. Warren Moon, the quarterback, went there. We walked right by their football field on the way into the basketball stadium. It was really neat seeing his college number retired up there on the stadium. When we saw John Bon Jovi, and he put on a great show, and we love him as much now as we always have, we could tell that he's not old, in his own words, he's just older. Like his favorite pair of old blue jeans, he's skinny's in, is all right on him, and all that. You know that song, just older, beautiful song. But it's like my mortality hit me in the face. Because think about it, this guy was the heartthrob of the world 40 years ago, right? And now, well, he looks like a 60-year-old man. And that's no offense to him, and that's no offense to 60-year-old men. It's the reality that time marches on, and we're not going to live forever. And we were coming home from that trip, and we were driving through one of the most beautiful parts of North Carolina you could imagine. And I've never actually taken that route, if my memory serves. It was gorgeous. It was beautiful. And then we crossed back into Virginia, and there was a lake down there, and I can't even remember its name, and it was gorgeous. And my wife kept saying, gosh, it's so beautiful. We should get out and do this more. And I said, we should just take a trip all the way across the country. This whole country is so beautiful. Because she could see how the topography was changing, as we got out of Virginia, got further down south, the land got flatter, mountains gave way to hills, and then just fields. I said, you should see this country. And I talked about the Midwest, and I talked about the Pacific Northwest. I talked about the Great Plains, the American Southwest, the desert, Texas, which is like its own standalone nation. So we decided on that way back, on our way home from that trip, we were going to take this trip across America, right? And we're going to the Grand Canyon and a million different places in between on the way back. And we're going to come back a different route than we go. And I mentioned earlier in the year that I was going to go meet George Foreman this summer. That's on the list of this trip. We are going to go to his church in Houston, listen to a sermon, and hopefully we can just walk through at the end, shake his hands, and say, hey, Big George, is great to meet you, and thanks for the message. And then just go. We're not going to harass him like creepy stalkers. And ironically, 2 weeks ago, just think about this, because I'm thinking in my head, man, if there's anything I've not done that I want to do, I better do it, because none of us live forever. And that really came from seeing who was, the biggest heartthrob in the world is now a 60-year-old man. But kudos to him. He's still getting out there. He's still rocking and rolling. A lot of people were making complaints or judging his voice, saying he's lost his voice. That's not the case. What it was is we saw one of the shows on the end of his tour. He had blown his voice. Now, when we saw Air Supply just last weekend in Roanoke, we actually saw their second show, I think, on this tour. They sound like they sound in the studio, but I'd be willing to, they do it differently. When Bon Jovi tours, man, he sings 5 nights a week. Air Supply sings 1 night a week. They take their time. This tour they're on is going to go through December, and they're only singing 1 show a week. So that saves the voice. Anyway, 2 weeks ago, Alec John Such, the original bass player, died. He died. He was 70 years old. And it was like, wow, that's kind of ironic. I mean, that's proof right there. None of us live forever, right? And today, rest in peace, Brett Tuggle, the keyboardist for Fleetwood Mac, and he played for David Lee Roth for a while. After David Lee Roth left Van Halen, he just passed away, if you haven't heard. 70 years old, same age Alec John Such was. So if there's anything you want to do, folks, you got to get out there and you got to do it. And so that's what inspired this trip. Dearly wants to see America. Daniel wants to see America. I want to see America again. It's worth seeing. It's so beautiful. So here's some stuff we didn't tell you. We were going to leave tomorrow. That's why I took the tent down. That's why we packed everything up. We're packed. We're ready to go. We were just sticking around so we could send out all the last batches of lumpia and peanuts and all that stuff you folks purchased from our Etsy store. Thank you very much. And that's part of the bad news. Got bad news about that, but hang on and listen. So this morning, I get in the truck and I drive up the road just a couple miles to go to this one dirt road. My training regiment today called for an easy 5-mile run. So I thought, well, I'm going to go run up here. And let me tell you, I had no clue how much time I've been spending in my head. It's probably been the last year. I've been out here running on the roads, and I've told you this over and over about how people almost hit me and kill me all the time. 9 out of 10 of them do it unintentionally because they're scrolling on their phones while they're driving on an old country road, doing 50 and a 45 or doing 60 and a 45, checking their messages or whatever. They don't even know they almost kill me. But there was one woman who was intentionally trying to kill me. Whatever, dude. I think she's got borderline personality disorder. I'm very familiar with that condition, and that's it, dude. And so people that have stuff like that, whatever. So I finally decided to run on the dirt roads where there's no traffic. I see like 1 car a week now, and they go so slow. Because listen, when they got their Mercedes Benzes on those old dirt rocky roads, they just creep because they don't want to tear out the undercarriage. They wait till they get on that hard top, and then it's pedal to the metal all the way into the city. And hell with bikers and cyclists and runners and joggers and walkers and small furry animals, whatever. So I'm going up there, and for the last week or so, we've been hearing a noise on our rear right tire, like whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. I'm like, no, please don't tell me that's the indicator that the brakes are going out and that they need to be repaired or replaced. Well, I'm almost to that dirt road. Here comes one of these folks who like to drive like NASCAR drivers out here on the country roads. You know, used to be people in the country were country people. Not so anymore. It probably never was like that here in the Charlottesville area. These folks work in the city, go to the city every day, and it's like a race to get there, and it's a race to get home for their peaceful country living. Man, there ain't nothing on that road peaceful with the way they're driving on it, let me tell you. So some dude comes up just tailgating me. You know, speed limit's 45, I'm doing 40. And he's like right on my bumper. I'm like, man, I'm turning off up here in a mile. He can wait for a mile. Well, he turns on his headlights to, hey, can't wait for a mile. It's coming back from the city. Got to get up here and enjoy this peaceful country living. So I'm like, geez, okay. So I take it up to 45. I finally go up to the speed limit, right? So when I'm turning off on this road, I hit the brakes and it just squeals. It's like, ah! Well, I went through puberty, so I can't hit that note anymore. But then it locked up on me. Once I made the turn so that Yuppie could go flying by me to get to his peaceful country living there, it wouldn't unlock. And it was like, oh man, this is terrible. So it occurred to me, my brakes are shot. They need to be replaced. So I park the truck and I'm thinking, wow, here we are ready to leave tomorrow. And this happened. And I was all 10 different kinds of ticked off about it. And I was thinking, oh gosh, wife's not going to like this, because she's so excited for this trip. We've got plans to meet up with several friends we have throughout the nation that live in different places, and she really is looking forward to meeting up with this first one we're going to meet up with here somewhere. I can't give too much of this away. I'm paranoid, bro. Listen, it comes from spending 10 years in countries where you trust no one or you die. In the military, we called it OPSEC, operational security. You never talked about your movements before you made your movements, your missions, where you were going, what time you were leaving, the patrols you went on. And when you do that stuff for all those years, you just can't turn it off. I guess they call it PTSD. Whatever, just another ism for my collection. Some people have issues. Bro, I've got entire subscriptions. So I go on my run. About halfway through, I start feeling good, you know. Got the good, clean, healthy sweat going. Shout out to Timothy Howard. I know he's watching because this is going to be a premiere. Timothy Howard let me know that he quit smoking, I think it was 115 days ago. Correct me if I'm wrong, Timothy. But way to go. Congratulations. Man, it just feels so good to be healthy. I'm in the best shape I've been in 20 years because whatever, that's another story for another time. But I thought, well, you can only do what you can do. And I'm not going to take this trip when I know I need my brakes replaced and endanger the lives of, I don't care about me. I mean, I do. Don't take that the wrong way. My wife and my son are the most important things in my world. And I'm not going to endanger their lives by taking them on a 6,000 mile cross country trip in a vehicle that needs its brakes replaced, right? So I thought, well, she's not going to like this. We can't leave tomorrow. We're going to leave tomorrow. By the way, that's why our Etsy store is still open, and we still have 5 orders of lumpia that you can buy. The link's in the description box below. And we're going to be here to send it out because we're not going on a trip tomorrow. That's why I didn't pause the store yet. So I come home and I tell her this. I'm like, honey, I got some bad news. And she goes, what? And she's so excited for this trip. She loves to travel. She loves to see new places, do new things. She's so full of life. And that's why we're such a wonderful match. We're not house, what do you call them? What do you call it? Couch potatoes, homebodies. We love to just, even here in our community, man, if it's a beautiful day, we'll go to Monticello, Thomas Jefferson's house. There's so many places in this part of Virginia. Things you can go, caverns, underground caverns you can see, rivers you can fish and swim in. We're just always out there doing something. We're active. We don't just sit around, you know? So she's not happy about it. And I said, you know, we just get, she goes, well, can we get them fixed on the way? I'm like, no, you don't go through Ohio and roll up to a garage and say, hey, we're from out of town and we need service. They're thinking, cha-ching, cha-ching. We're going to our dealership where we purchased that truck, where all the maintenance on that truck, to include maintenance since we've had it, plus its original owner, where the second owner's was done, because he bought it from there, had everything done there. Their computer system knows everything about that truck. We're going to take it there. And I said, let's just focus on what we've got to do today. I'll call to set the appointment to get the truck fixed. So she's mad. She's upset. She's younger than me. She's 34. I'm 48. A lot of this understanding, you know, you can only do what you can do. I think a lot of that comes with age, you know? So I try not to, but she was really pissed. So anyway, so we're packing up the lumpia to ship out, right? And as you know, those of you who have bought it, we freeze it, we pack it up in these insulated bags with the gel ice and all that stuff in there. Well, guess what? Guess who forgot to put in the order for the bags? So we had like 15 or 20 orders of lumpia or something to send out, and we had 2 bags. I know. I think Mr. Huff in West Bygod, Virginia, yours is on the way, and Amy Perosi down in Florida, shout out, yours is on the way. Everybody else, just gotta wait. Yeah, it's bad news for you too, isn't it? Well, I was in the doghouse double time now, because I'm the guy who I ordered too much ice gel. I put in an order for more ice, so we got extra ice. Hey, anybody need to keep anything cold? So anyway, she's upset about that. What are we going to do? Well, okay, just let me call. So I call and I make arrangements for the repair shop. They can't get us in for days. So now this trip is postponed, not just past tomorrow, but it's postponed for days. She's upset about that. So I said to her, okay, listen, we've got this taken care of. We have this problem, the brakes. Okay, but listen to this. When I called the shop, they said, Mr. Lake, you know, I'm looking in the computer system here, and we realize you're 500 miles over needing an oil change. I didn't know, because when they did it last time, they didn't put the little sticker up in the windshield, and I usually get an email saying it's time for service. I didn't get the email. They said, you need to get that thing in here for an oil change as well. We'll fix your brakes, change the oil, top off all your fluids, and rotate your tires. When is a more perfect time to have that service done than just before you're going to start a 6,000 mile trip? So think about it. You're starting to see where I'm going with this, right? You know what they say? The best way to make God laugh? Tell him your plans. Our plan was to leave tomorrow. God thought that was funny, so he locked our brakes up. Why? Because we needed an oil change, tires rotated, fluids topped off, or guess what was going to happen when we got in Death Valley, California / Arizona? The car was probably going to just explode. Not really, but it was probably going to break down and be like one of those movie scenes where you have steam coming out, you know, of the radiator mechanism or whatever. I don't know anything about stuff. Except warm ass coffee. What do you expect? It's 87 degrees out here. Okay, so I said, honey, this is a blessing in disguise. This truck needed scheduled maintenance anyway. So this thing about the bags. So I go online. I'm like, well, can we have them overnighted? No, we can't. It would take such and so many days to have them here to be able to send out the lumpia, because we're not leaving until it's sent out. Well, it wouldn't get here until after the truck was repaired. So she's all pissed. She's losing her stuff. And I'm like, no, honey, let's stop focusing on the problem and focus on the solution. Understand we're on the same team here, and we have a common goal in mind. We need to work together. Well, she's 34-year-old angry. And so I went outside and I was thinking about those insulated bags. And I was like, you know what? Though I don't know much about stuff like mechanics and home improvement and stuff, they've got to have some kind of insulation type material at Lowe's that's like identical to these bags that we could just buy and make these bags out of. So I get online, I go to Lowe's.com, and sure enough, there it is. They've got this silver insulation type stuff that I think it insulates your house to keep the cold in during the summer. It's like the silver insulation type stuff, like foil. And I showed her, I said, look, let's just go to Lowe's, get 3 rolls of this, and we'll make those bags so we can ship that lumpia out tomorrow. So if you were worried because your lumpia wasn't sent out today, it's being sent out tomorrow. We went to Lowe's, we got 3 rolls of that stuff, and guess what? It's twice as thick as the bags we were using, and since it's in raw form and it's not, formed into bags, it's half the price. So we now know what we're going to ship lumpia out after we get back from the trip and it goes back on sale in the fall. We've got a way to ship the lumpia that's half the price for us. Etsy just raised their fees, their seller fees, like last month, and most Etsy sellers raised their prices on their products to offset those fees. We didn't do it. We took the hit. We're still making money. It wasn't as much as we were, but now, because we found a less expensive way to ship our product, we've made up for the loss we took when Etsy raised their seller fees that we refused to pass on to our buyers. Wow. So look at this. This is what I'm saying. My point of this is there's no such thing as bad news. I thought it was bad news that the brakes need repaired. I called only to find out that all this other stuff needs to be done as well, and it's going to get done, okay? We thought it was bad news that these bags we didn't have. Turns out we got another product for half the price. It worked out great, okay? Now listen to this. I couldn't see this coming. There's our first stop on this trip is at a museum that I've wanted to go to for a long time, and this is one of the things I'm most excited about on this trip, despite going to the Grand Canyon, trying to meet George Foreman, going to potentially the Santa Monica Pier, and then in Texas. Nothing else needs to be said, Turns out, Dearly Gone Online, because we know that we can stay at all the state parks and national parks for free because I'm a veteran, and that's part of our plan. That's how we're able to afford this trip. Because with gas prices as high as they are, we're able to offset that because of the campgrounds being free for us. And we're going to stay in a tent, and they have showers, and they have toilets and all that stuff. And probably once a week or so, we'll stay in a motel or a hotel just to, do that. But she checked out, she went to the website of this museum to find out how much it costs to get in, because this isn't free. It's going to cost us $30 a head. Well, 30 for me and Dearly, 20 for Daniel. So it's like $80. Turns out this museum's only open 3 days a week. And had we left tomorrow like we were supposed to, before the brakes went out and before we ran out of foil bags and we had to stay an extra day to ship out products that you folks had purchased, we would have gotten there and that museum would have been closed for the next 3 days. So as it turns out, there was a power greater than all of us who laughs when we make plans. And he laughs and he looks down and he says, no, here, let me rearrange this stuff so it's actually going to work for you. You might not like it at first, but don't view it as a burden. You'll eventually, in time, if you look hard enough, see it as a blessing. And that little bird that I told you I found, that was the triple bad thing that came out, because it all comes in threes. I was able to get it back in its nest. And that thing about how, if you ever touch a baby bird and put it back in its nest, its mother's not going to care for it, that's a lie. That's not true. That's not even close to being true. I know which nest it came from. I know what bird has what nest where. I put that baby bird back in there. And on the way back up here to make this video, after uploading the trailer for this premiere, the mother bird was in that nest chirping with that baby. So listen, maybe that's why we're still supposed to be here, because God takes care of even the smallest of sparrows. He knows how many hairs are on your head. He knew your name before you were born. There's no such thing as bad news. It's all part of a greater plan, one that's greater than we could even conceive for ourselves. Hope you got something out of that. See you for more next time.